consider today's issues impartially. Commissioners? Seeing none, we will proceed. New business.
Proclamation for Kansas State Wrestling Champion Dalton Wydell.
Ottawa High School senior Dalton Wydell became Kansas State Wrestling Champion in the 195-pound division on March 1st, 2014. He is only the second one in the school's history to become state champion and the first since 1975. And the proclamation reads as follows. Whereas Ottawa High School senior Dalton Wydell became the Kansas State Wrestling Champion in the 195-pound division on March 1st, 2014, and was the second in the school's history to become the state champion and the first since 1975. And whereas countless hours were spent at practice, traveling to matches, and tournaments. And whereas Dalton's success is not only due to his hard work and commitment, but also to the commitment of his coaches, managers, parents, friends, family, and community pardon me, that supported and encouraged him as he advanced from tournament to tournament. Now, therefore, the governing body of the City of Ottawa, Kansas does hereby recognize Dalton Wydell for achieving the championship title for the state of Kansas and encourages the citizens of Ottawa to join in recognition and express congratulations to Dalton for a job well done. Signed this the second day of April 2014 by the mayor. Dalton, would you like to come forward and receive this proclamation? This is how it works. You have to look and we take a picture. I always have to explain it to people. I'm like, take my hand here. We'll do the hand. Look here. All right. And then here's what, okay, one more time?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, look, we got a bad one.
1, 2, 3. Okay.
And then this is where you have the opportunity to talk.
I'd just like to say thank you for all of Ottawa's support and made me hire me ever since I was young. It's a dream that I've worked for since I was very young, and I appreciate all the support from everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. And congratulations to you. Next, number 10 on the agenda.
A proclamation recognizing Arbor Day on Saturday, April 26, 2014.
As a Tree City USA designee, the City of Ottawa takes special notice of Arbor Day. Doug Reinhardt, Parks and Cemetery Superintendent, will accept this proclamation, and I actually think we've made that change to J.R. Doherty's going to accept that proclamation, so we'll accept J.R. or Doug. Really, either one of you can come up and take the proclamation when we're done. And the proclamation reads as follows. Whereas in 1972, J. Sterling Morton proposed to the Nebraska Board of Agriculture that a special day be set aside for the planting of trees. And whereas this holiday, called Arbor Day, was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska. And whereas Arbor Day is observed throughout the nation and the world. And whereas trees can reduce the erosion of our precious topsoil by wind and water, cut heating and cooling cost, moderate the temperature, clean the air, produce oxygen, and provide habitat for wildlife. And whereas trees are a renewable resource that give us paper, wood for our homes, fuel for our fires, and countless other wood products. And whereas trees in our city increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of our business areas, and beautify our community. And whereas trees, where they are planted, are a source of joy and spiritual renewal. Now, therefore, the governing body of the City of Ottawa, Kansas, does hereby proclaim April 26, 2014 as Arbor Day in the City of Ottawa and urges all citizens to help celebrate Arbor Day by planting trees, or to support the effort to protect trees and woodlands, and urges all citizens to plant trees to gladden the heart and promote the well-being of this and future generations. Signed the second day of April 2014 by the mayor. JR, would you like to come forward? All right.
1, 2, 3. Okay.
All right, we're good. Jared, would you like to take a moment to address the commission?
On behalf of the Ottawa Tree Advisory Board, I want to thank you for supporting tree-related activities within the city. We are proud that the City of Ottawa is designated a Tree City USA. Annually, the City of Ottawa sponsors an Arbor Day poster contest for all area 5th graders. It's my pleasure at this time to introduce Doug Reinert, Park Superintendent, Tree Specialist. He'll tell you more about this program and to introduce this year's poster contest winners. On behalf of the Ottawa Tree Advisory Board, I'd like to thank you for recognizing Arbor Day.
Yes.
Good evening.
Hi, Doug.
I want to thank all of you for supporting the Arbor Day poster contest in Ottawa. The City of Ottawa belongs to the Northeast District. The North Central District and the Northeast Districts are overseen by the District Forester Kim Baumbarger. The theme this year is Our Trees Are Terrific in Kansas Cities and Towns. There were 308 posters drawn in both the North Central and Northeast Districts. Ottawa had 156 students participate this year. Of the 19 teachers participating, 11 were from Ottawa. This is a direct result of the efforts of the Ottawa Tree Advisory Board and city staff visiting area 5th grade classrooms to promote the 2014 Arbor Day poster contest. On February 3rd, the tree board met to judge the posters. 5 school winners were selected. School winners are as follows. Please come up front and receive your award as I call your name. Dean Harris, Mrs. Donna Callahan's class, Donita Callahan's class from Bethel Christian Academy, son of Mrs. Karen Harris.
Are you handing it?
Do you want me to do it? Or
Yes,
You're welcome to do
sorry.
it. It's fine. It doesn't matter.
Get all 3 of you in there.
All right, Dean. Here we go. Ready to take a pic?
1.
We good? All right, good.
Here you go, Dean.
All right. Maylee Luna, Mrs. Donita, Mrs. Deirdre Altick's class, Eugene Field Elementary School, daughter of Mrs. Sandra Luna.
1, 2.
Good job. Congratulations.
Noah Geschwintner, Mrs. Kelly Campbell's class, Garfield Elementary School, son of Mr. and Mrs. Patrick and Wendy Geschwintner.
I know. Come on up. I'll shake your hand, and you can have this too, okay? We're going to look this way.
1, 2.
Congratulations.
Good job, Noah.
All right. Monica Verbus, Mrs. Patrice Peoples' class, Sacred Heart Elementary, daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Rick and Sandy Verbus.
1, 2.
Congratulations.
Good job, Mike.
Jack Evans, Mrs. Kelly Sullivan's class, Lincoln Elementary School, son of Mrs. Carrie Hilgert.
Jack. All right. Let me hold your hand. Hold this part. Look over here.
1, 2.
Congratulations.
Jack.
All right. The overall city winner, The city's overall winning poster was submitted to the Kansas Forest Service for judging in the statewide competition in February. As in previous years, a tree will be planted for Arbor Day, April 25th, with a tentative rain date for May 9th at the City Winter School. It is my honor to announce the 2014 City of Ottawa Poster Contest winner, Sacred Heart, Monica Verbus.
Awesome. Let's get this though. This is the really important stuff. Well, I know it's in there.
A piece of paper off. Pull the page off.
Ah. Nothing like making you wait there. Sorry, Monica. This is awesome.
Oh, wow. Okay. Mr. Special, if you're going. One more. Good.
Awesome.
Okay.
Congratulations. Would all of the winners like to get a picture up here? Let's have them all come up. And we'll have the commission all come together. We'll take a picture with your poster right here. I'll take that. Come back up here, guys. All of you winners, come this way. We'll scoot in, and you can stand behind us, and we'll get a picture of everyone. Want to hold with me? Got it, Monica. We got everybody?
Hold your certificates up.
Excellent. Excellent.
Nice job, guys.
Good job, guys. Thank you all so much.
Winning posters are outside on the display board.
Thank you, Mr. Reinert, and thank you, Mr. Doherty. Appreciate it. Just hate it. Y'all don't have to leave. I wish that some of them would stay. I know. Yeah, we're gone. Oh, the Verbuses will stay. Thank you. That brings us to number 12 on the agenda.
Resolution of support for locally owned broadband utility.
Resolution requesting the FCC restore and preserve the ability of local governments to invest and, in some cases, partner with other broadband network providers. Mr. Bingham, would you like to come up and address the commission regarding this request?
I sure would, Mayor, Commissioners. As you're aware, there's been a recent effort at the state level to legislate restrictions upon municipal broadband networks or even partnerships between government and independent providers. If local control is not withheld or upheld, it will harm both the public and private sectors. We think it'll stifle economic growth, it'll prevent future growth and attracting new companies to this area, and it'll prevent the attraction of larger employment here and maybe even the retention of employment here. So we think overall too that would diminish the quality of life here in our local community as well as others around Kansas. So we want to send a message, and that message is that we want to strongly support the FCC restoring and preserving local authority to build networks or partner, us as a city to partner with other broadband providers. Now, this home rule, as we can call it, keeps decision-making at home close to the customer where they can best be served because we can personally know what they want. In addition to that, the revenue generated is retained locally and spent locally, not sent off to a big city somewhere, to the big provider. So what we want to do here is, and this is a staff recommendation, we want to send this resolution to the FCC, where it's posted on their board for the public to view as well, and also send a statement of support, kind of what I outlined here. So these two things will happen with your approval, and again, staff recommends your approval on this resolution.
Questions for Mr. Bingham? Okay. You know, Chuck, and I'm sorry that you sat down, but I'm going to ask you to stand back up. Would you just briefly, for individuals who may be wondering exactly what is that we're doing here, can you explain to Joe Citizen what it is that the broadband that we actually have available here in the city of Ottawa and what its purpose really is right now?
What we're doing now as a city? Yes. We developed a city network and used some fiber that was already in place from the school district as well as the county, and built and hooked up as well as our own build out. Why we did this was we had surveyed customers, particularly in the industrial park and other areas. They were being underserved and overcharged, and we just thought it was very bad. They did not want to pay in some cases were exorbitant prices for their broadband. So we decided to maybe pattern ourselves after what Chanuta's done and been working on for more than a decade, use them as a model, and worked with others as well, and made this happen. And we've done things such as have the price of internet and double the speed for the school district is one example of that. So that saves taxpayers money. The co-op's able to get better pricing, faster pricing for their grain to market it better, as well as their fertilizer prices and those kind of things. So that helps the business here. We have a number of customers that have signed on. We've been in business for a year, and we continue to grow that. So we think it stimulates economic development. It helps our businesses remain competitive because we've just been underserved and overpriced. Until that changes, we're going to continue to build our network and grow it and help our businesses here.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but the city of Ottawa is truly viewing this as a utility, similar to the electric, the water. I mean, it is a necessary, broadband is necessary to have business done here in the city of Ottawa.
Yes, it is.
That's true. And you can look at fiber optic utility as the utilities of 120 years ago, the water and the sewer and the streets. It is a necessity that we need in the community to move forward for economic development, to create a sustainable community, and to ensure that we have citizens here that are able to enjoy the benefits that come with good fiber, and businesses that enjoy and are able to do business with good fiber.
Commissioners, are there any questions?
I have just a question, comment too, and I guess we're not a large enough city to attract a private entity like Overland Park, Kansas City. Is that kind of the premise behind city-owned?
Well,
Or
let me give you a little bit of background.
Sure.
Part of this that we went through several years ago, we met with major providers.
Yeah.
And major providers told us, we're not going to do anything different. Go ahead. I think that as growth comes down I-35, as Google continues to push other broadband providers into a more competitive situation, that becomes, that will be advantageous to us.
Yeah.
If there had been a private market solution here, we would have advocated that, but there simply was not a private market solution. And I would tell you that our municipal utility is a bare bones utility. I call it a naked broadband. There is nothing, I mean, we are doing nothing but supplying broadband to the businesses and the local government that wants it. And we're not the highest, we're not the lowest, and we've had some businesses that have decided that they wanted to purchase broadband from other entities. And I will tell you that as we started this discussion several years ago, that there were some changes and there were some more options made available in the community. So it did accomplish that goal that we had set out. So that's a long answer to a short question.
That's good,
And just clarify too, we are not in the business of providing broadband or internet connections to residences. So the consumer, because there are a number of providers for that, but this is specifically for commercial and industrial type and governmental type entities.
That's correct. Thank you.
I think it's good to note as well, I think it was mentioned at the mayor's prayer breakfast yesterday, that there are a lot of counties in southwest Kansas or southeast Kansas, which we are kind of part of that area, that do not have access to this kind of internet connection at all. And so that really is a positive that not only Ottawa, but Franklin County has as a development tool for economics, that I think we should remember, which is why it's so important to protect it, because we're not just protecting what we currently have, but what it means to future growth in the area.
Any other questions or comments?
Madam Mayor,
Commissioner?
I move to adopt the resolution as described in item 12 of the agenda.
There's a motion to approve number 12. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Is there any discussion among commissioners? If not, we will proceed to vote.
How do you vote? Commissioner Jorgensen?
Yes.
Commissioner Skidmore?
Yes.
Commissioner Dickinson?
Yes.
Commissioner Reed?
Yes.
Mayor Kayler?
And I vote yes, motion carries. On to number 13 on the agenda.
An ordinance rezoning the property located at 1134 North Main, Ottawa.
Ordinance rezoning the above property from C3 General Commercial District to MUCI Mixed Use Commercial Industrial District. Wendy Lee, would you like to come forward and explain this item on the agenda?
Good evening. This request came from the property owner, and they asked to be rezoned. The adjoining properties, particularly to the south and west, are already in the zoning classification, and so it's not a very hard change to make. They were already in a commercial classification. This just allows them some light industrial uses on the property as well. There are 3 buildings on this property, but it's one parcel. And there was no public comments at the public hearing, so the Planning Commission recommended approval to you.
Any questions from Mrs. Lee?
Madam Mayor, I would make the motion we approve the ordinance that's listed number 13 in our agenda.
There's been a motion to approve the rezoning. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the rezoning of 1134 North Main. Is there any commission or discussion among commissioners? If not, we will proceed to vote.
How do you vote? Commissioner Skidmore?
Yes.
Commissioner Dickinson?
Yes.
Commissioner Reed?
Yes.
Commissioner Jorgensen?
Yes.
Mayor Kayler?
Yes, motion carries. Number 14 on the agenda.
Resolution adopting Connecting Ottawa Transportation Plan.
Connecting Ottawa is a project funded by KDOT and the Kansas Department of Commerce and is a partnership with the City of Ottawa, Ottawa Main Street, and KDOT. The goal is to develop a plan that identifies connections between Ottawa's downtown area and surrounding neighborhoods and ultimately develop a prioritized list of pedestrian and bicycle needs throughout the community. Wendy Lee, would you like to come and address this item with us?
I'll sit closer.
Okay.
It'll save us time. This project was one that we started several years ago. Several of the commissioners that are now on the commission weren't even on the commission at the time. And it began with a funding partnership with the Department of Commerce, Department of Transportation, and the City of Ottawa. But the other partner that was involved is the Ottawa Main Street. And the initial idea was, how do we get people to get to downtown? And there'd been some earlier meetings and some citizen input into that. But we also wanted to take a look at institution uses and connecting bicycle amenities as well. So the majority of the funding was from the Department of Commerce and Transportation. We did not have that much funding compared to the rest, but a consultant was hired. Surveys were conducted. People will probably remember being able to do that either online or with paper. Main Street handed them out to all the businesses downtown, tried to get a lot of feedback. The result is the plan. And the plan was initially presented to the commission last summer, and then it took a while to get it printed and developed, and we have an online version, and we'll make that available to folks if they want to take a look. Some of the primary components or things that we're focused on the most were the connection from 1st to 5th along the Prairie Spirit Rail Trail. There's been discussion off and on for years, probably ever since it was built, about how could we make that more understandable if you're not from the community. And even if you are, how could we make that a better connection and safer? So if the sidewalks are there and we expect people to go to them, can we sign them? Can we be sure that they're smooth the entire route, et cetera? One of the other focus points was we know that we have bike lanes on North Main, and if you're a savvy, confident bicyclist, you'll do that. If you're a parent with 2 children behind you, you might not. So how can we get movement from the north side of town down to the south side, whether that's across the PSRT bridge or it's across the Main Street bridge? How could we maybe go off of Main Street for some things? And so there's some alternatives in the plan for that. Other things were prioritization of routes. They suggested some policy changes. We had some language changes in some of our ordinances, et cetera. So it's a complete plan from action by the electeds down to what kinds of opportunities could we present if we had funding opportunities in the future. And so that plan is ready for adoption. The Department of Transportation has asked if we've adopted it, and we hadn't yet, so we put it on your agenda for action. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Mrs. Lee? If not, I will entertain a motion.
Madam Mayor,
Commissioner?
I would move that we approve this resolution to adopt Connecting Ottawa, the transportation plan.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
There's been a motion and a second to approve the Connecting Ottawa Transportation Plan. Is there any discussion among commissioners?
I would just like to say this goes right in line with some of the other activities and promotions that we're doing in our community, the Healthy Communities Initiative, the Let's Move Initiative, even the play.
Absolutely.
It's a part of play as well as getting to and from work and business and that type of thing, so definitely in favor.
Absolutely. I think it goes right in line with our quality of life.
Yeah.
Certainly. Commissioners, any other reflections that you shared? Would like to share? Okay, then we will proceed to vote.
How do you vote? Commissioner Dickinson?
Yes.
Commissioner Reed?
Yes.
Commissioner Jorgensen?
Yes.
Commissioner Skidmore?
Yes.
Mayor Kayler?
And I vote yes, motion carries. On to 15 on the agenda.
An ordinance amending Article 24, Supplemental District Regulations, Section 24-601, Accessory of the Zoning Regulations, Ordinance number 3501-05 for the City of Ottawa.
I'm always glad when you get to read those, Carolyn. Amendment to the size of accessory structures on tracts over 3 acres. And I believe that Wendy Lee will come up for a third time to explain to us what it is that she's got on the agenda today.
It's not even my last time tonight. I'm sorry to let you know. This amendment was requested by a citizen of Ottawa. And as I told you Monday at the study session, one of the, along with fences, accessory structures is one of those things, and maybe signs, that we frequently address. We look at it under one perspective, then come back when someone has a different situation and then say, well, this doesn't quite fit, or if that's what we intended, then we would convey that to the person. In this particular case, this person has a larger tract, a larger home, and the requirements that they stay down at 2,000 square feet for a structure in their mind was going to make it too small in keeping with the rest of their property. So they asked us if they had a much larger tract, could an amendment be created? So we called a hearing, discussed that with the Planning Commission, and had several conversations about how the wording would sound. And the proposed amendment would be for tracts greater than 3 acres, private garages or carports or any combination thereof, not to exceed the lesser of 2,500 square feet, or the floor area of the residential building, whichever is lesser, if it's permitted by the Board of Zoning Appeals. Because generally speaking, this is going to be fairly rare, It's also the kind of situation that if it were in a neighborhood where one tract might be over that acreage, but other tracts around it might not, it could be an imposing structure then. It could be larger than a house nearby. It warrants that the Board of Zoning Appeals would take a look at it on a case-by-case basis. In this particular case with the citizen whose request, I don't think that's going to be an issue. But we just were uncomfortable with how large that could get, and that if it were the height that's allowed by the zoning regulation, it could in fact start to dwarf a nearby residential structure. And that wouldn't have been the intent, nor do we think it would be your preference or the community's preference. So in this case, they will still have to go through a next step, but at least they get the opportunity to go to that step, whereas the current regulation doesn't allow that. Any questions?
Questions?
I guess I've got, Wendy, most of our lots in town are less than a half an acre anyway, aren't they?
If you do the
That's
majority. Yeah, half to
22,000
3/4.
square feet, so.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
that's fine.
this would be for rare tracts. On the other hand, because we have area on the edge of the community where we have sizable sized tracts, it
Right.
could be that this wouldn't be a once every 10-year circumstance, but it's probably not a once every 6 month circumstance.
Additional questions for Wendy? If not, I will entertain a motion.
Madam Mayor, I would make the motion that we approve the ordinance listed here in item number 15.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
There's a motion and a second to accept the ordinance as written on number 15 of our agenda. Is there any discussion among commissioners? If not, we will proceed to vote.
How do you vote? Commissioner Reed?
Yes.
Commissioner Jorgensen?
Yes.
Commissioner Skidmore?
Yes.
Commissioner Dickinson?
Yes.
Mayor Kayler?
Yes, motion carries. On to item 16 on our agenda.
Land and Water Conservation Fund.
The 2014 Annual Operation and Maintenance Assurance Statement. Mr. Neinstead?
Commissioners, this is the, as the mayor said, this is the annual operation and maintenance assurance statement we do with Kansas Department of Wildlife and Parks and Tourism. And this covers the Forest Park Pool and Recreation Facilities and the Forest Park Swimming Pool renovations. And what this document says is because we receive money from the state to do those improvements and upgrades, then there are certain assurances that we have to give that we will continue to provide proper upkeep and budget every year to make improvements and keep those facilities in good repair for public use.
Mr. Neinstead, are those assurances for the lifetime of the project?
They are for the lifetime of the project. Long after we are gone, some future commission will still be doing this on an annual basis.
Any
Well,
questions?
provided, as long as the legislature funds Kansas Department of Wildlife, Parks, and Tourism.
Okay. Is there any questions for Mr. Neinstead? If not, I will entertain a motion.
Madam Mayor,
Commissioner?
I move that we approve number 16, the Land and Water Conservation Fund.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Is there any discussion among commissioners? If not, we will proceed to vote.
How do you vote? Commissioner Jorgensen?
Yes.
Commissioner Skidmore?
Yes.
Commissioner Dickinson?
Yes.
Commissioner Reed?
Yes.
Mayor Kayler?
And I vote yes, motion carries.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Yes, thank you. I'm going to give you a second to sit down because you're next on the agenda.
I am. Couple of things, Commissioners. I'm going to give you a short report, and then I'll turn it over to Mrs. Lee, who will give you an update on the Parks Building project. And the first thing, it's okay. It's all right. The first thing I want to tell you is that although it was not on the agenda tonight, Just to remind the public that there is a special call meeting in Manhattan for 4 of you on Friday evening and Saturday morning with a special leadership retreat that is going on. So remember that. And you might be thinking about the second meeting when we have a discussion on Monday about reorganization of the commission. Generally, the second meeting in April is also moved to the 7 o'clock time so that you can have a reception for the outgoing mayor and the ingoing mayor. So you might give some thought to that on Monday so we can deal with that on Monday. And before we turn it over to Mrs. Lee, I don't know if you've been following the news, but it is dangerous to serve this country in any capacity, whether you're overseas or whether you're in this country. And at Fort Hood, which suffered such a tragedy 4.5 years ago, there's been another shooting on Fort Hood with at least 4 people dead and several dozen injured. So I would ask that you keep all those people in your thoughts and prayers as we go through this and figure out what happened. So it is indeed a tragedy in America when that happens on our own soil by someone who is out to take everybody else's life before they end theirs. So, Mrs. Lee.
Good evening again. Because we just finished the most significant playground project that, as I said the other day, I expect will happen in my term with the city and probably yours, we think it's appropriate to present what we showed at the concert on Saturday night to remind folks that maybe weren't at the dedication or who haven't been too involved all of the things that have gone into the making of this playground. So I'm going to slide through these slides and visit just a little bit about that as we go along. First, this project couldn't have happened without significant sponsors. And we have been collecting revenue since 2011, just shortly after we finished the last project at Kansas Park. And there's no gift that is insignificant. Certainly there were gifts that were larger than others, and we've made note of some of the largest ones here, the most significant of which was the grant from Kaboom Dr. Pepper Snapple. That $20,000 grant also leveraged us, as we visited about several weeks ago, to use a community build model, which saved us $50,000 in expenses had we wanted the same unit. And I can assure you that what would have happened is we just simply wouldn't have gotten the project we got. So it certainly made our funds that we raised locally go much further. You can see on this list the others that I would just at least say are over 5,000 is American Eagle, the Walmart Matching Fund, which matched the employees' fundraising, which they raised over 1,000, Walton Family Foundation, the City of Ottawa, and the Utility Insurance Fund, which was your designation. In addition, there's some others listed here that are over 1,000. We also had a long list of donors under 1,000 that were still significant to the project build and or the concert, because some of these things were achieved through concert gifts as well. The concert sponsors, which were the most significant part of that, is Modern Woodman. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about that in a minute. The City of Ottawa was a sponsor. Crutcher Heartland, BCI Mechanical, Kansas State Bank, and Vive were our cash sponsors for this event. And then Cargo Tech, I think, as we told you, purchased 100 tickets. So they were the largest ticket sponsor that we had for the event. We did have a lot of ticket purchasers. We certainly appreciate all those, People's Hasties Pennies, as well as these ones who bought under 20 tickets. Because, again, that fundraiser helped put us over the top to the achievement of this project. On that note, I would tell you that we raised $3,344. I think the number I reported Monday was just slightly off that. We had another expense and a shift in a revenue since then. So we will be cutting a check to Modern Woodman for that amount. They will then return a check to us with that amount plus $2,500. That's how their matching project works. And so they anticipate being at your next meeting, the evening meeting 2 weeks from today, to present that check to you. That's our goal. Then we have the build. And we had a number of sponsors for the build itself. the majority of these folks at the top in particular, Kilo, Wise Guys, Cunningham Concrete, and Honey and Calvin Aho, are all skilled folks who gave labor and or equipment and time as well to the building of this playground. There's an image of kind of the playground before we had fully opened it, but certainly you can see some of the amenities as well as the rock wall in the far distance. Here's where we started. We started with holes in the ground that the city crews did. Some of those were utility crews and some were our parks and public and streets crew, and we appreciate all of that. The very first platform that went up, and those of you who worked the first Saturday know that we had 2 platforms up and 1 connection, and that was so that we could go from that point in different directions. The first build day came on the 22nd, and you can see here a number of different folks that were holding and stabilizing either poles or pieces. We had the Ottawa High School baseball team for a while that morning, and they were appropriately there because they had their hands up like this middle picture all above their heads for a while the parts got leveled and attached. That's not the easiest thing to do, and it's a good thing they were tall because for some of us that would have been on our tippy toes. And then over on the far side you can see some of the city crews. That particular piece was very heavy, so it was really fortunate that we had a number of men who could manage a lot of weight as well as our volunteers. Here on the right are some people you'll recognize that are in the room. On the left, I'm sorry. And then over here on the left is the one of the panels that I hope people get a chance to see. Not everything is active on this playground, certainly more than what we've had in the past, and that's important. But there's also some things with sound, turning things to make up. They are powered by the movement of the person. They don't have power to them, but they can go for a while after you leave, which is kind of fun. Here is later in the day, some additional pieces, more platforms. This is the play web when just the posts were being installed, and to get that ready to be set in concrete as well. A lot of these pieces had to be set in concrete well ahead of the second day in order for them to hold. And then this is you kind of run across it, a bridge-like structure. Sorry, read my own handwriting there on the right. Then in between that first build day and the second day, streets crews and parks crews worked every single day. Now, they had already worked the 2 weeks, most of them the 2 weeks before, unloading the equipment. This was a semi-load full of equipment, and it was literally stern to, just the whole thing was full. It took them 2 days to unload and start that inventory. 2 days. It's a lot of equipment. But here they are that next week working to install more pieces, and right in the middle, this was when Wise Guys were there trying to install some equipment as well, and then they put up the beginning of that rock wall. All of those pieces had to be done, as I said, by really Thursday of that week in order for the concrete to cure before we started putting more stuff. So here we are, final build day. People came on site and arrived, and this is probably not the best picture of this because it makes it look like the mulch only had to be spread a little bit. There were places where the mulch was as tall as I am. And it's a lot of work, and we had members of Rotary who had blisters after this day. I know I saw a lot of people taking breaks. Richard and I traded equipment, a rake or a shovel there for a few times, and so you'd work for a little while and you might go find something else to do. It wasn't quite so physical because it looks like it might be light. It is not light. It is, but it's a good quality. Here on the right, in the afternoon, we had a large group from COF come and help us spread that mulch as well. And so that was a good day. There's the mayor. She was there standing with her. I could have done the one with the donuts. That would have been okay too. Yeah. She delivered donuts for us that morning.
I think I'm on the piece actually right there.
Oh yes, that's right. You were turning the swinging around the one that makes you dizzy. If you haven't seen that, you can operate it with or without other people, but if you do it with other people, it will be much faster. Here's the play web. We were trying to get some mulch in, and then later in the morning they assembled those ropes. Those were so heavy that they had to have a very big group of people holding those as well. And then we had a small group from American Eagle there that morning as well, though we'd had a group from American Eagle the week before that we had people there both days. Then we took one great picture here, and I wanted you to see this. This is the work crew that was there on the final build day. I failed to do this well the first build day, but we did get one really good group picture on the final build day. You can see now that we've got that play web assembled. People are in it. We want to say thank you to all the sponsors, the volunteers, the task force members, and the city who made this a reality. And lastly, we did the dedication later that afternoon. We had a bumper crop of young people that were there to play. Not as many adults, actually, and we had invited all of our sponsors to this event, and it was a busy Saturday afternoon on a beautiful, gorgeous day, but I was thrilled with the number of kids, and they played and played. We are continuing to get great feedback from that. So here's some kids having fun after we opened it, and they were busy as soon as we finished. So here's the Play Task Force members one more time, just for your reminder. That group will have some changes as we come forward. So if there are other folks in the community who felt like, that was a great project, I missed out on it, but I sure would like to do something else, that group's going to have some shifts here in the future, just as a natural tendency of groups after you finish a big project. And so we're inviting other people to join and or find a component of it that they might want to participate in, whether it's a pocket park or some policy things that they hope to do as well. So wanted to let you know that. And if you have any other questions. But as I told you Monday, we had about 100 volunteers over the 2 build days, and really a terrific project. So.
Excellent. Thank you. Does that conclude your comments?
It does.
City Manager? Thank you. We will move on to reports by the City Commissioners. To my left, Commissioner Skidmore.
Well, Wendy, I want to thank you for taking the lead on that project. You did quite a bit of work on that too, so I think we all want to say thank you for that good work, so I really appreciate that.
Thank
Did a
you.
good
And
job
Doug,
of that.
And Doug Reiner. Last time we
Yeah.
talked, Andy, Leslie, me, and Doug. We were the staff people. This time it was me and Doug coordinating same kind of stuff. So we
That's
had a lot of help from a lot of people at the city, but it was fun.
Well, that's good work. Appreciate that. Also, just wanted to mention, I think many of you know our bank in Pomona was robbed on March 19th, hence my absence in our last commission meeting. But I do want to thank our own police force here, Randy, and all you guys working together with other public safety entities to quickly capture these suspects, and we'll see where it goes from that point. But I really appreciate your effort there and getting that done quickly. I know it took a lot of hours to get that done. Good police work, so appreciate that very much. I read an article recently of one of the Boston Marathon victim, the bomb, lost both of his legs, and he commented that bad people are rare, but good people are everywhere. And that's what we experienced afterwards. We had a lot of support from the local people, even here, people in Ottawa supporting us through that. The ladies that had the experience, a gun pointed at her, that's not a pleasant experience. And so just really appreciate all the good police work and all the wonderful people coming forward to encourage the ladies. That was well needed and well received. Thank you.
Commissioner Jorgensen.
I guess the only comment I have is last weekend was definitely a banner weekend for our community. We had there were a number of activities from a forensics tournament and a car show at the high school to the build that is going on at City Park, and then the evening was culminated with an excellent concert at our auditorium, and that's something that we can be proud of in our community is how much the citizens of our community pulled together. City staff and crews that worked on the playground through the week and put in quite a bit of extra time than what their normal work hours are. And then volunteered as well on the build itself, and this is something that adds to the quality of life of our community, and those that have helped in that playground take ownership of it, and those kids that were the first ones to play on it take ownership of it, and these are the types of projects that I'd sure like to see a lot more of in our community to make it a better place.
Excellent. Thank you. Commissioner Reed.
I don't have anything this evening.
Commissioner Dickinson.
We often don't think of playgrounds as tourist attractions, but we've heard lots of stories with social media, people sharing pictures and then their friends wanting to come into town to see. I've heard a story that at least somebody from Emporia and somebody from Olathe coming down to Ottawa just to see the playground and play there. And so it's great when things that we do that are better for our own citizens turn out to be tourist attractions as well. I also want to note that today at the Chamber Image Lunch, our Ottawa Fire Department was awarded the award that kind of goes to social or the civic groups or nonprofits. It was by a family that had recently had a fire at their home, and they noted that our firefighters and staff were very helpful and very professional and did their job, but also were very supportive of the family in that process. So I just want to thank the fire department. Rick's back there tonight, and so thank you guys, and we're glad that the community is noticing the things that we know that you guys are doing all the time. So.
Well said. Thank you, Commissioner Dickinson. Thank you, all commissioners. On to reports by the mayor. I think that oftentimes I agree with what Commissioner Jorgensen was saying. It was a banner weekend last weekend, and we really, as a city, our city employees all came together and really showed how much that the city really means to them, and that the heart that they had into it, and that always includes our fire department and our police department and those individuals that are out there serving our citizens every single day. So if you know somebody who works for the city, or please take a moment just to thank them. And I do want to extend a really warm thank you to Doug Reinert and to Wendy Lee and to Fonda Rose, who really worked countless hours, who probably along with me a couple of Saturdays ago couldn't feel their fingers or toes for most of Saturday evening after being outside trying to put together the playground all day. I appreciate it. I really, really do. We yesterday were able to celebrate with the Mayor's Prayer Breakfast, and I appreciate all those that were in attendance and appreciate those wonderful words. We were blessed to have one of our former colleagues, former Commissioner Ramsey, in attendance there, and his just him being there meant a tremendous amount to everyone sitting up here. So we wish our best wishes out to Commissioner Ramsey and a speedy recovery to him, and glad that he was able to join us at the Mayor's Prayer Breakfast. We did have a great concert after our playground build, and I appreciate every individual who actually came to the OMA and supported and enjoyed some time out in the city of Ottawa. And isn't it wonderful when we can go out in the city of Ottawa and then guess what? You can be home in 5 minutes. There's nothing better than that, right? You don't have to drive. You can just be home in 5 minutes. We have another celebration coming up next week where we will officially open the Bark Park that has been really close to several of our citizens' hearts, and they have worked tirelessly to raise funds to open up our very first dog park in the city of Ottawa. And so I hope individuals join us and your four-legged friends. We have special treats for them next week when we open up the Bark Park. So we hope that you're there next Monday when we do that, and bring your paw friends and your and all that you can to celebrate the opening of our first dog park. And then you can run over and play on the new park, and you can do both in our wonderful Forest Park. So that brings us to announcements. We do have a special call meeting for our study session. It is simply a time change for next Monday. That will be a 3 p.m. start in lieu of a standard 4 p.m. start. So special call, our study session is 3 p.m. next week in lieu of a 4 p.m. We will be doing interviews for our OMA Advisory Board prior to and following the study session. Our study session we will have another study session on the 14th of April at 4 p.m. And we, at this point, now have our regular meeting scheduled at 9:30 a.m. on the 16th. However, we will be discussing next Monday the possible time change for that. Saying that, that brings us to adjournment. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Madam Mayor,
Commissioner?
I move we adjourn.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries.